Hey everyone, Joe here. Welcome to part 7 of the Pro Tools First Pro course. In this part, I'm going to be showing you the second part of the user interface, the mix window or mixer, so that you can mix in Pro Tools First like a pro. So here we are back in our Pro Tools First session. If you haven't seen part 6, I go over the edit window, which is the main window that you're going to be working in. It's best to get a good overview of how that works first before we look at the mixer. But in this part, we're going to be looking at the mixer, the other window, or the mix window as it's called. So to open it up, if we go to the window menu and click on mix, it's going to come up with this mixer here. Alternatively, if you hold control and press equals or command on a Mac, you can show and hide it. So what the mixer is basically is just another view for your tracks. And certain other information. It's got a horizontal layout rather than a vertical layout. It's very reminiscent of a classic mixing desk, a hardware mixing desk where you've got each of these channels lined up, and you've got your plugins at the top there, then your sends where you're routing the audio to, your input and output, and everything. But we will go over these again just so you know what you're looking at exactly. Then on the left here, we've got your list of tracks. So I like to have my mix window just open there for the mixing stage, that is. I'll normally keep it closed when recording. If you've got 2 monitors, it's perfect to get this full screen on another monitor so you can just see that full view of the mix window as well as your edit window separately. So like I said, what we're seeing here is largely what we're seeing on our tracks in the edit window as well. But just to give you a quick overview, so we can really get this nailed in so you know exactly what you're looking at. At the top here, you've got your inserts where you're adding plugins. So we're going to be going over that in a later video, but you can add your EQs, reverbs, all the plugins, all the effects that go on your tracks. Below that, you've got sends. So you can send the audio from a certain track somewhere else in your session. And then we've got the input output here, the input where you're going to select which mic you're recording from, and the output which speakers or which bus you're sending it to. And then this is where things get a little bit interesting with the mix window as opposed to the edit window. And this is the main reason why you'll want to use the mixer. So once we get to the mixing stage, when you've got a lot of tracks, you've maybe got a couple of vocals, some synths, some drums, whatever, and you've done all your recording, it's a lot easier having these controls, these pan pot knobs and these faders to make quick adjustments, to do a quick level mix. So it's exactly the same controls as you have here. You've got the volume. If we put this right to 0, you'll see that the fader's moved there, and if we move the fader up, you'll see that it changes here as well. And then the same with the panning. So this is a stereo track, so we've got the left and the right channels. We can move them straight into the middle. So we've got a mono signal, or we can move them to the outside. But when you're mixing, being able to move these faders like this is kind of a more tactile and more precise way of mixing. So it's very useful. And then you've got your notes section there as well. So you can write notes on your tracks. We've got that hidden at the moment, but if we go into this menu here, we can open up comments there. And then you'll see the same thing. And it's useful for also getting things out of the way, especially if you've got a small screen. You can hide things like the inserts and the comments there. And then once you get into the mixing stage and you need those things, you can open up the mixer and use them there. So there's not a huge amount to go over with the mixer. You have seen most of what it has to offer when you saw the previous video on the edit window, but I'm just going to give you a couple of little tips on using this to speed up your workflow while we're looking at it. It's a good time to start really getting into that mindset of using Pro Tools First in practice. So one thing you can do to speed things up, if you've got these faders somewhere, wherever, and you've got your pan pots panned, if you want to snap them straight back to the center, the pan pots, or snap the faders straight back to 0, to unity gain, if you hold Alt and click, it will just shoot them back to 0, and again it will shoot the pan pots back to the center. You can also move things around, change the color, rename, everything you can do with your tracks in the edit window. So you can double click the name of the tracks and change them. And then you can go into, you can double click the little color tab here and change the colors. It's more of a kind of compact view as well. If your tracks are all really kind of zoomed in and large, then it might be quicker just to scroll left and right with this to find your tracks. And then you can also shift them around like this as well. So you can drag them around here and it will move it in the edit window too. So it's just another view basically. It is something that you could technically live without, but it is really helpful when it comes to the mixing stage. You should now have a good idea of where you can find everything that you need to get started with Pro Tools first. Don't worry about learning and remembering every single button and menu option. Firstly, you won't need every single one, and secondly, I'll be going into it further as we go along, and as you use it, you'll start to remember where things are. Part 8 is where the fun begins. I'm going to show you how to record your first track. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that one, and let me know in the comment section below if there is anything that you're still unsure about with the user interface of Pro Tools First. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.